In a skyscraper's conference room, a guy and a girl faced off. Just outside, the staff were watching the whole show. The pink-haired staffer was dying to know who the girl was. The black-haired one whispered that it was Xiao Hi's girlfriend. And she was here to totally dump him. The pink-haired staffer couldn't believe she was dumping him right here at work. She commented that the woman was so wild. Inside the conference room, the woman told Xiao Hi, "I can't be with a pathetic loser like you anymore." Hey just asked. Why? She snapped angrily that his whole pathetic vibe just grosses her out. That left him totally speechless. Then the woman declared she only lowered herself to be with him because she saw his cultivation potential. Even if he didn't make a top cultivation academy, he was from a washed-up cultivator family at least, but they'd been together for a while now. And his pathetic bloodline was still dormant. She raged he'd wasted 3 months of her prime, costing her chances with so many immortal scions. Hay felt crushed as she berated him. He replied that he blew all his savings on spirit stones and all those spiritual energy gems for her. That just made her even more furious. Then she scoffed that the junk he gave her had weak spiritual energy that was just pathetic. She compared it to the earring from young Master Lai, which is overflowing with spirit energy. It repels evil, guards the body, and even enhances my beauty outside. The pink-haired staffer crushed the computer mouse in her hand. This totally caught the ex's attention. The pink-haired staffer yelled at her, "You've gone way too far." The black-haired staffer tried to calm her down, reasoning that they hadn't hit their team's monthly KPI yet. So there's no reason to get into someone else's drama. Hay spoke up to clarify his point. The fuming ex-girlfriend spun toward him. Then he told her, "Give me back everything I gave you." Pure rage erupted in her as she shot up from her chair, her body trembling with fury. Then she cursed, "Be a loser for life and die a miserable death." And with that, she stormed out. As she left, Hay added that she could mail the stuff if it was too much trouble. But she angrily snapped back that she'd toss it in a river before ever giving it back to him. He asked, "Which river? 'Cause it would be a shame to waste it." The pink-haired staffer thought he was interesting. The black-haired staffer told her to quit gawking, warning her that if she slacked off more, the manager would pop up, and right on cue, someone appeared behind her, asking what they were doing. It was the cultivation department manager, Jiang Jian. He asked if she had finished this month's KPIs yet. She still hadn't answered. When Jian saw Hay snoozing, the pink-haired staffer explained, "His girlfriend just dumped him, so he's a bit down. But he'll be fine in a bit." Jian said nothing else. Later that day, Hay sat on the edge of the building's roof. He glanced behind him when someone asked, "Have you eaten lunch yet?" It was Jian. He asked if he wasn't feeling too good. Then he offered him a drink to relax. Hay was baffled by this since the old man usually just glares at him, out of nowhere. He's acting all nice. One can down. And Hay was totally wasted. He stood, arms spread wide, roaring that his ex-girlfriend ate all his food, drank his booze, bled his wallet dry, and even two-timed him. He screamed for her to just disappear. Ah. That felt good. He admitted he didn't expect the manager, usually so cold, to actually care this much about his subordinates. Then whoa. The room started spinning. He knew it. The soda was spiked with something. He glanced at the can, catching the manager's devilish grin in the reflection. Then he blacked out. Hours later, his head was pounding. He opened his eyes to find himself chained to a cliff's edge. Someone noticed he was awake. It was Jikon. Hay asked if there'd been some kind of mix-up. Jikon was about to explain his goal, but Hay cut him off, saying he wasn't into that kinky stuff. That ticked him off. So he decked him. Seeing Hay found it hilarious. He urged him to take a good look below to understand his predicament. He saw a pair of eyes staring up from the dark pit. It stirred. And as it emerged, a dragon was revealed. Jikon presented the offering to the divine dragon lord. He told the dragon that while this useless fool hasn't awakened, his body still has the spiritual root of an ancient lineage, which makes him way more delicious than the usual sheep and pigs they bring. In return, the divine dragon gave him the promised condensation pill. Jikon was thrilled to finally make his major breakthrough. He departed to continue his cultivation. The divine dragon asked Hay if he had any last words before meeting his end. Hay glared back, telling the divine dragon its breath was absolutely rank. He suggested brushing its teeth before eating him. The divine dragon was enraged by his insolence. It claimed to be the lord of the clouds, master of the 9 heavens, wielder of thunder and rain, rider of the 4 seas. And not only that, it spent 3,000 years cultivating in the abyss, and 80,000 years ruling the 9 heavens. Then it got embarrassed for losing its cool, It was annoyed at itself for getting riled up by a mere mortal. It grabbed He. Normally, it'd swallow a sacrifice whole. But it decided to give him the special treatment, chewing him piece by piece. He screamed that it couldn't. It sneered that it's too late for begging. But He clarified that he has a bad case of athlete's foot, which would only make the dragon's breath worse. He added its breath would be foul. And the stench would stick around for good. It'd be like morning breath mixed with its ex-girlfriend's nasty socks. The dragon roared for him to shut his trap, and then it chomped down. Half his body was gone. And he yelled, "Ouch. That kinda stings." But his face revealed the agony he was in. A mark appeared on his hand. It got severed as the dragon swallowed him down. The forbidden art of his bloodline had been activated. First, the light of life and death. It puts a death mark on the foe who lands the final blow. And on himself. The enemy suffers the exact same pain and damage, so long as the curse doesn't finish him. His body will keep regenerating. Next skill, dual annihilation. Once this art is used, all bodies under the life and death curse will perish together, unless some top-level immortal magic intervened. Neither of them had a prayer of revival. The spell is unblockable and can't be stopped. Suddenly, a teacher called on He, grilling him on what kind of nonsense he was spouting. He blinked his eyes open to find himself in a classroom. His teacher told him to recite the 7 arts of body refinement, but he's rambling about life and curses. The teacher wondered if he'd taken too much body refinement medicine, making him hallucinate. His classmates totally laughed at him. Meanwhile, in the faculty room, a female teacher asked Professor Yin about the transfer he accepted into his class. She assumed this new student must have some impressive talent, or else someone with his high standards wouldn't accept him. He replied that the kid had other talents. The truth, he pocketed a hefty sum. He figured the kid wouldn't even pass the first monthly exam anyway, so he might as well take the money. The entire class thought He was a total nobody. They kept on laughing. He was unfazed. In fact, he was wondering what gift the heavens had blessed him with. He sat in class, deep in thought. After being taken out by that dragon, he woke up in his bed. And the spiritual root, dormant for 20 years, had finally awakened. His ex-girlfriend's words echoed in his mind, calling him the last descendant of a failing cultivator family. Just then, someone slammed a foot on his desk. This punk tried to intimidate him, lecturing him on the rules of the class. He was told to fork over 1 bottle of body refinement pills, 1 bottle of Peiyuan pills, and 1 dose of Guban potion every week. Their classmates saw John Jabai educating a newbie again. To them, this was prime entertainment. Hiei asked why he should give him anything, and why his foot was on the desk. Jabai claimed it was his turf, so he'd step wherever he wanted to. And besides, he usually just jumps down from here, unlike the weaklings who take the stairs. Before he left, he threatened him if the goods aren't delivered by class end this afternoon, he'd be tied to the school's front light pole to be publicly shamed. He saw Jabai's feet stepping out the window. An idea sparked in his mind. Our boy smacked the bully's leg, making him trip and land right on his face. Now that's what I call satisfying. The whole class stared out the window, jaws on the floor. They couldn't believe he actually slammed face first into the ground. They weren't worried. He trained in the 100-fold refined steel technique, so they figured he wouldn't get taken out by a fall like that. Some felt bad, because if he croaked, their rank would go up. He was down for a few minutes. When he got up, he screamed not to go anywhere, 'cause he'd break his legs. The green-haired kid in front of He told him he was totally screwed. Jabai is a notorious class bully who's never been beaten. Plus, his family is a super powerful and influential cultivation clan in this city, and his body refinement technique is at a crazy high level. He added that the last guy who crossed him, his whole family was ruined and wiped out. He warned He could run, but he couldn't hide. He also tipped him off to avoid Guji Alley after class. That's their usual spot to ambush people. But that route was unavoidable for He's trip home. Later that dusk, he spotted the Guji Alley sign. 3 goons were waiting. One of them asked their boss, Jubby, if it was truly necessary for all 3 of them to handle some trash transfer kid. The other dude said the boss could wreck that punk with 1 hand, but it's beneath him to get his hands dirty. So they, the lackeys, would take care of it. Jabai figured the little punk was trembling in fear, trying to find a way to avoid this alley, but it's pointless. He's got guys posted everywhere, so there is no escape for him. The bald goon gave a thumbs up, praising his master plan. Then, out of nowhere, He showed up, asking them, "Who told you guys I was gonna hide?" The bald dude spun around and saw He walking right up. They were stunned. He just walked right into their trap. They figured since he couldn't escape anyway. He just chose to accept his fate. Jabai noticed this kid wasn't scared one bit. He wondered what his game was. He started thinking. Could this be that super rare type who hides his real power? Acting weak to set up a sneak attack. Hey called them out as cowards for not even trying to jump him at the school gate. Instead, they chose some remote alley for an ambush. He griped that it was a real pain to get here. He dared them to bring it. One of the goons got triggered and launched a kick at Hay, sending him flying into a wall and making a huge dent. They didn't think he'd be this weak after acting so cocky. Jabai decided he was just a newbie and he'd been overthinking it. Hay crashed to the ground. His face all bloody. The thug walked up, telling him that was a kick from the 5th level of body refinement, meaning Hay's insides were messed up and he wouldn't last long. But Hay, looking wrecked. It said it didn't even hurt. He couldn't call that a 5th refinement. It was soft and weak. Like a punk who'd been choking his chicken all night long, the goon was enraged. He couldn't wait to see him stop breathing for good. He went to shatter his skull with another kick. Blood sprayed everywhere. He was totally confused. Jabai and the bald dude watched in horror as the guy's own leg flew past them. Then he hit the deck. Screaming, his severed leg gushed blood as Hay just laughed at him for losing it. Suddenly, a woman appeared. Standing before Hay, Jabai was floored. She appeared in the blink of an eye. And even though the woman's back was turned to them, the bald goon attacked. Jabai screamed at him not to use a kill shot there. He'd wreck the whole block, but he did it anyway. Unleashing his ultimate move, Death by Purple Gold Club, it set off a massive blast. That moron wrecked all the nearby houses. He just knew his old man was going to flip out about the aftermath. Finally, the smoke and dust cleared. The bald dude was stunned. Even Jabai's jaw hit the floor. His eyes wide. The club hit the woman's head, but she was completely unscathed. A few moments before this scene, on a floating island, under an ancient tree, sat the silver-haired woman and a white crane. They were playing Chinese checkers. The white crane asked the woman, called Lord Divine Dragon, why she always showed herself in human form. The Divine Dragon hated the palace's busted rules. She wondered why they always had to appear in their true, original forms. She griped they'd look like that crane dude human body. Birdhead. The crane just blinked. Totally caught off guard, she asked if it was offended. The crane clarified, pointing out that she was actually bleeding. She thought it was a joke. She hadn't bled in 100 years. She knew she was invincible. But to her complete surprise, blood just exploded out. The crane freaked, making it gush even more. She quickly cast a stasis spell, then ditched the crane. As she blasted off to the mortal realm, the crane yelled for her to check in with the immortal palace first. She flew incredibly fast. A mark appeared on her hand. Scanning it with her divine sense, she learned it was a death curse, and not even her immense power could dispel it. She knew the life curse was linked to some schmuck in the human world, and she had to find that punk. Meanwhile, back in the alley, a rectangular barrier snapped into place. Glyphs blazed on its walls, sealing the entire alley. Jabai was stunned. She ate a quasi-condensation realm blast without even flinching. Right at the moment of impact, she had instantly thrown up a defensive barrier. The surrounding buildings were left completely untouched. He knew this person's cultivation was way beyond his own. Divine Dragon mused that she hadn't fought low-level scrubs in so long. She'd forgotten just how pathetic they all were. She also figured Jabai was even weaker than she was when she first started out. Jabai screamed at his man to get away from her. Now. But before the bald dude could react, his body just exploded. Jabai was horrified. His legs gave out, making him fall flat on his butt. He stammered, "How did that happen? I didn't even see her attack." He panicked as she stalked toward him, especially since his legs were useless. He knew it was over for him. Suddenly, Hay was yanked into the air. Well, she said. "I'm surprised to see someone I ate come back to life." Hearing that, Hay knew it was the dragon. She yelled at him to hurry up and get this stupid curse off of her, or else he was toast. He just stammered back that he had no clue how to remove it. Because of that answer, he was repeatedly smashed into the pavement. She did it with so much force that the whole ground shattered. She screamed at him to lift it. Jabai watched in terror. When she snaps, she'll even attack her own people. Suddenly, she coughed up blood, staining the ground. She realized the harder she beat him, the more damage she was taking, so this was totally pointless. If this kept up, they'd be stuck in a boring loop. She decided to retreat and figure out how to break the curse, but Hay told her to stop. She saw he'd come back to life again. Internally, she thought, She griped about how shameless this curse was. Hay then brought up how she ate him, like trash. So he wanted some compensation. He was the first person to ever say that to her. She asked what he wanted. His reply, he wanted to become an immortal. She got super annoyed. Then she asked what he'd do if she said no. He threatened that if she didn't grant his wish, he'd take a nice long bath in sulfuric acid, dying over and over. And she'd bleed out right along with him. She was furious he dared to blackmail her. She could just freeze him solid and lock him away while she found a way to break this curse. Sure. She had forever. But he had a few tricks ready for just this kind of situation. He dared her to make a move, which totally set her off. A shadow erupted below, unleashing crimson fire. So, she tossed him the book, scoffing that a one-shot to immortality was just a total pipe dream. It was a starter manual for slow training. She snarked it was perfect for a no-talent chump like him. It won't make him immortal. But hey, it might just get him into a decent university. At least. Plus, he'd be set for life. The cover read, Skill Prepayment. Just from the title alone. He knew this technique was going to be insane. He agreed, leveling up his cultivation was the only way to go. Inside her head, she was calling him a moron. Nothing is free. So, until she could finally ditch him, she'd drain him dry. Funny enough, he was thinking the exact same thing. Elsewhere, Jabai was practically wallpaper, trying to go unnoticed. But then she looked his way. He thought he was toast, but she said she couldn't be bothered with ants not in her path. Still, he'd better forget he saw anything. He saw her power surge towards him and screamed that he didn't want to die. And just like that, he opened his eyes to the body cultivation instructor, yelling at him to get a grip in the exam room. It bugged him that yesterday was a total blank. His head was scrambled. He had no clue what to do. The instructor announced it was the new semester's first monthly exam and they'd better give it their all. Anyone at the bottom of the rankings was on thin ice, since the school might suggest they drop out. The first body cultivation test was on, for their futures. He yelled at them to charge forward now. Hey, couldn't believe it was already the first monthly exam. The teachers hadn't taught squat all week. The green-haired dude next to him said, that's just how senior year rolls. All the important stuff was covered in the first 2 years. And Hay should have been in extra prep classes. That was news to him. Green hair explained that it's all about extracurriculars. Senior year is just exams, rankings, and self-promotion. It hit him. Hay hadn't signed up for any prep. He was totally screwed. He told the heavier student that his rank was about to shift. The student asked why. Then Greenhair dropped the bomb that idiot transfer student didn't even sign up for cram school. They all busted out laughing. Greenhair spotted Jabai and wondered why the class psycho suddenly let Hay off the hook. Jabai himself was wondering that too. His 2 goons were taken out permanently, and the other one was left leaking. He had a bad feeling. Something awful went down. The first test, penetration power. A barrier spell was cast on the field to test their raw, destructive force. The instructor called on Jabai to show everyone how it's done. The teacher had high expectations for him. Jabai hurled the staff. The impact was immense, blowing clean through multiple layers. The instructor excitedly announced it smashed through a 1-meter thick, 5-layer reinforced concrete wall. He expected no less from the school's body tempering prodigy. Jabai's strength was basically on his level. The girls went wild for him. He ignored them. They couldn't see the real threat. The green-haired dude chimed in, saying it was awesome. Hay asked if that result was decent. Greenhair said Jabai's famous. He's the only one in class getting a direct pass to Heizu Cultivation University purely for his body cultivation skills. He explained the test shows raw, destructive force, whether it's body tempering or sui cultivation techniques. In the end, your score is all about how many layers you can bust through. Most seniors in their first month can only break 2 or 3 layers. So his 5-layer smash is totally dominating the leaderboard. The instructor called up Wu next, the chubby guy from before. He stepped up and chucked the ball. It hit the first layer and just duck. He was praying for it to push through. And somehow, it did. He celebrated just barely passing. Then the instructor called the transfer kid. In his mind, though, he was ticked. The old principal let such a scrub into his class. As he called out, "Hey!" Greenhair figured the new guy was totally screwed. If he can't even break 1 layer, he'll be told to pack his bags. Thinking it was their last talk, he wished him good luck. Hay focused his energy, his eyes glowing red. The instructor noticed him walking up with nothing in his hands. He sneered, announcing they had a prodigy who could conjure things from thin air. The whole class erupted in laughter. Jabai added that, with a hidden dragon like that, the teacher's promotion was a lock. That just made everyone laugh even harder. But to everyone's shock, Hay actually formed a ball. Then, he got into a throwing stance. He reared back and launched it. It shot forward, smashing through the walls with ease. The instructor was floored. He blew through the reinforced walls. He worried it might even punch through the school's main barrier, but it fizzled out at the final wall. He was relieved it ran out of juice. Still, even with that, it shattered the record for this year's class. And he'd never seen that palm lightning technique before. From the raw, explosive power of that lightning, he could tell Hi's body tempering was at a high level. To master both body and ki cultivation to that degree. This kid's a heavenly genius. The girls swarmed him, saying he looked so plain before. But now he's suddenly so handsome. One girl said his talent could rival the school's past legends. He was a total nobody before. But now it's obvious he's from some powerful, major sect. Greenhair knew he was toast for laughing so hard earlier. Later on, he was a total nervous wreck. Hi asked what was wrong, saying he looked 50 years older. He confessed he was blind before, and said if Hi ever needed anything at all he had to do was ask. Hi just said bye. That he was in a rush. Then he vanished in a flash. Greenhair was stunned at how fast he bolted for the train. He realized that true prodigies work way harder than he ever does. Hi booked it as fast as possible. Totally ticked off. He knew it now. That damn dragon was definitely up to no good. She'd given him a trash manual that was a ticking time bomb. Now he had to make up for practicing that black nether palm lightning. If he failed, penalties would kick in, nerfing his cultivation and weakening his bloodline. Basically, a total power lockout. His timer, 11:05. In his room, Hayes tore through his shelves for a skill book. It was that one he'd bought online. But it was gibberish then, so he skipped it. Now he was desperate to remember those first cultivation steps. Reordering was useless. Even next day shipping was too late. He would be totally screwed by then. Then, a flash of genius, the e-book, but one look at the price tag, and he let out a shriek. His downstairs neighbors complained about his yelling. They needed sleep for tomorrow's cultivation. The first time, he drained his savings on it, spending tens of thousands. To his utter shock, the price had already skyrocketed. Now, he only had 8 hours, 31 minutes, and 24 seconds. He was running out of time. And if he didn't order it now, a whole night of training wouldn't be nearly enough. But his wallet was already hurting from that 50,000 for the principal. He still caved and bought it for 200,000 when, dropping his balance to 3,000. 372.29. Then he hit the mountains for breathing basics. 3 hours, 44 minutes. 3 seconds left. Time for spiritual energy activation. The final 1 hour, 5 minutes. And 16 seconds were for move practice. He was causing explosions, blasting holes right through trees and boulders. He cleared the cultivation process with 32 seconds to spare. When he finished, he bragged. That was too easy. Then he promptly got dizzy and passed out. Meanwhile, on the floating island, steam filled the air in the exclusive bathhouse. The divine dragon was enjoying a soak when blood suddenly erupted from her back, staining the water. She complained about losing the immortal dew she'd just perfected. A glance through the water confirmed he'd overexerted during the completion and had totally flatlined. She just called him useless. She'd only added a tiny restriction to the process. And it was still enough to completely knock him out. She had no other choice but to heal him. 1 week ago, first day of senior year, G had ranked in the top 10 on the placement test. The results were posted on the board. He bragged about making the elite class's top 10 with just body tempering. It made him look down on the top-tier students. Then a girl next to him yelled, which startled him. She saw Fatty wasn't in last place. His name was at the very bottom. No one had ever heard of him. So they figured he was a transfer. Jabai was itching to show the new kid how things worked around here. Back in the present, Jabai saw Hay had jumped 10 ranks since the last test. Hay was now ranked at 33. One of his goons called to him. It was time for the test. Inside the gym, a student stood there, terrified, a palm smashed into his face, drawing blood. The powerful strike made him crumple, his neck snapping back. The instructor yelled for a medic to rush him to the infirmary. Hoping Dr. Song's miracle hands could still save the kid, Hay asked the green-haired dude what this test was all about. The guy said it tests their palm power and how well they take a hit. And unlike the last piercing test, this one was totally Jabai's home turf. Especially his prized iron-tempered steel technique. The rumor is, nobody in their grade can even scratch it. Jabai was up against the year's top palm strength user, Xiao Hi. He was itching to prove he was the real beast. Yikai was dead set on wiping that smug look off his face. He unleashed forged steel palm, a crazy destructive move. Dust went everywhere. He then declared, iron-tempered steel, was all hype. But then his jaw just dropped. The dust cleared. And Jabai was still standing. Jabai dissed his move. Then Bam Yikai was out for the count, so the instructor yelled for someone to drag him to the nurse. Then, he called up a student named Wu. But Jabai cut in, wanting He first. He was totally shocked to hear about open source and patented cultivation methods. His classmate said, all cultivation methods are one of those two types. It's like basic knowledge, which made him ask what school He went to for 10th and 11th grade. He replied, Municipal number 3 High. Oh. Now it makes sense. No wonder his fundamentals are so shaky. That's just a regular, non-immortal cultivation high school. So this green-haired guy explained that open source methods are public. And that means absolutely anyone can practice them. But patented methods are registered with the Immortal Cultivation Patent Bureau. So only the patent holder, or an authorized person, can use them. Anyone else caught practicing them could face legal trouble. Or even get it acid, like those two guys before. Forged steel palm is open source. But 100 refined steel is patented. But regular cultivators can't just bust through a patent. Patented moves have way higher requirements and are harder to learn. The instructor cast some basic repair spells to fix the trashed court. Then he called He down to the floor. He and Jabai stared each other down. Jabai's heart pounded every time he saw the guy. He couldn't figure it out. Especially since he'd only lost one single test. But if he could just crush him, he could finally prove himself. He suggested they just hit each other at once. That really ticked him off, so he screamed. Don't get cocky. He unleashed forged steel palm. Jabai scoffed. Seeing him use an open source move against him, he used 100 refined steel. The instructor watched. Eyes glued. Their palms connected right on each other's faces, but Jabai went flying and crashed hard. When he slammed into the wall, the impact left a huge dent and a perfect body-shaped crater. The whole crowd was stunned, silent. Totally frozen. The instructor couldn't believe it. He's opening move was the open-source forged steel palm. But the instant it connected with Jabai, he layered 100 refined steel right on top of it, and the Jiang family's patented 100 refined steel has insane requirements and is super difficult. It made him wonder if He wasn't afraid of the disaster that comes from illegally using a patented method. He told the teacher he should probably send Jabai to the nurse. Since he was kinda stuck in the wall and couldn't get down himself, he was confused when the teacher was silent. When he turned around, the instructor was like a trained pup. He then grilled him about his master. He beckoned him to lean in closer. He then hissed that it was the Dragon Lord. Jabai awoke in the nurse's office. Fuming at that absolute jerk, a voice beside him mused that the punk looked familiar. It was totally Xian. He peered at He's photo, noting he resembled someone he knew. You know him, Z asked. Xian hinted that he did, but internally, he reasoned, there's no way He could have possibly survived. It made him wonder if the Dragon Lord had shown mercy. He knew the next test was chemistry. So he asked Jabai what topic they would be focusing on. Jabai replied, it'd be poison crafting and toxin trials. A wicked grin spread across his face. Jian told him they were going to have a blast at a junkyard. Jabai then practiced his forged steel palm until he mastered it. He told the boss every last scrap car was totally crushed. The boss praised his awesome work and wired the payment right to his account. The boss was too cheap to buy a car crusher, saving a buck. So he got a sweet gig to earn cash while training. The system ordered him to complete his 100 refined steel training soon. He'd done 2,020 strikes, but still needed to take 20 hits. He began wondering who he could fight tonight, out of nowhere. A guy showed up asking if he was, Hey. He shot back with a quick, nope. He claimed the dude had the wrong guy, 'cause his name was Yinjian. At that exact moment, the teacher from before let out a huge sneeze. He thought it was weird to catch a cold while just making a slideshow. The guy yelled at him to quit the act, saying he knew who he was. Young Master Jiang sent him to teach him a lesson. This was Jiang Ziwan. Spiritual Attraction Realm. Tier 9. He strode up, telling him he should have just said so from the start. He denied it, thinking the guy was just a debt collector. He was totally down for this. Jixuan found it odd he wasn't scared, since his cultivation was way higher. With spiritual perception, he's barely entering the spiritual attraction realm, so it made him wonder if he was hiding his true power. Without a second thought, he decked him, sending him flying across the way. He charged again, thinking He was just putting on a tough guy act before, and it only took a single punch. But just as he was about to land on him, he was totally caught off guard. He glared, daring him to put more force into his next hit. The forest exploded as they clashed. He took another solid blow, followed by a brutal kick. Even as he ate dirt, a grin was on his face, which totally confused Zixin. He was getting pummeled and his aura was fading, but he still wore that freaky look on his face. Finally, he chose to end this fight with a one-hit kill move. Third sequence, He took a massive blow to the chest that sent him flying back, smashing into a boulder. He collapsed to his knees. Ziquan scoffed. High schoolers these days are so pathetic. Yet they act all tough. He didn't move. And when Ziquan checked, he was healing. He was floored by the recovery speed. Not even a top-tier healer in the spiritual attraction realm could pull that off. He slammed him with the final blow. The impact blasted a shockwave of wind around them. He had this wicked grin, seeing he'd taken a 2020 level beating. The 100 refined steel training was done. He glanced down, snagged Zwan's leg, then unleashed Black Underworld Palm Thunder right into his torso, but Zwan blocked it with his palm, scoffing at the beginner-level spell. He replied that he should just hold on to it. He readied his other hand for his next attack. Then he used Forged Steel Palm, followed by 100 Refined Steel. Jigsawan took the hit dead on, the force sending him flying. It was so intense he blasted right through a tree trunk. Eventually, he found his footing and steadied himself. But he coughed up blood. He could feel most of the meridians in his body were shattered. He couldn't believe a mere high schooler, a rookie in the spiritual attraction realm, could force him to channel energy to heal. He vowed to obliterate him as soon as he recovered. But something strange caught his attention. The lightning ball was stuck to his hand. He panicked, trying to fling it away. But the thing wouldn't come off. He was helpless right before it detonated. Nothing was left of him but his shades. He picked them up and put them on. The system notified him that the enemy was defeated. He got a magical tool, the dynamic monocle, which enhances his dynamic vision, making it way easier to track fast-moving objects. He was stoked about this unexpected bonus. The next day, the rankings were up. Jabai was annoyed that He was climbing the ranks so fast. He was already at 18th place. On top of that, the kid also wrecked the goons he'd sent after him. A woman called to He, asking for his secret to ranking up so fast. She offered to trade Yuan nourishing pills for it. Little did they know, some other girls were totally eavesdropping. They called her Gao Fei, a real piece of work for trying to trick him with such a bad trade. Later on, the class began. It was chemistry with their teacher, Zhang Qingyan, and for the lesson that day, they were to demonstrate their poison-making and poison detection skills. In the future, when they entered dangerous careers, they would inevitably face dirty tricks from co-workers, subordinates, bosses, and even rivals. So, if they didn't want to suddenly drop dead on the job one day, she told them to give their all on this exam. They would each get several samples. Before the exam ended, they had to identify which of the samples was poisonous. They were told to swallow the safe ones, and their final grade would be based on both their detection speed and accuracy. If they could even name the poison, they would get extra credit. Jabai had already tampered with He's entire tray with the help of his second brother. He expected him to not even make it to a dangerous career, because he would die right here. With so many pungent items mixed together, he knew there was no way he could identify the poison by its scent. In the tray, there were hutunia dumplings, stinky tofu, durian, and fermented bean juice. If he was thinking of identifying the poison by some other means, he wouldn't be successful, since the poison was heavily masked. He had faith in the poison master in their family, and he was confident that not even their chemistry teacher would be able to detect it. The green-haired guy was relieved to be in a field where he excelled. He began sniffing as Fatty dropped a chemical on the food. A girl used lightning to detect the poison. Teacher Qing'an watched her, impressed that she was still so skilled at poison detection. She strolled to He, who was just chilling while everyone else was already flexing their skills. Jabai overheard, thinking He had no choice but to just sit there like a total loser. He's too dumb to pick. But whatever. He's going to be pushing up daisies no matter what he eats. He grabbed food from the floating aisle. Meanwhile, the divine dragon was fishing, lost in thought. Ever since she ascended to godhood, life had become a total drag, leaving her with nothing to do but fish. As she was just lazing about, her eyes and nose started bleeding. 5 minutes ago, He had scarfed down all the food on his tray. Teacher Qing'an couldn't believe it. Do you realize what you just did? You could actually die from that? She was relieved she'd foreseen idiots like him and had strictly controlled the dosage. It wasn't lethal, she assured him, but he should brace for some serious mud butt. Jabai grinned. Yeah. Wishful thinking. He'd poisoned every single item with enough juice to take out a guy 5 times. He went pale, bleeding from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Then he just collapsed. Teacher Chingon checked his pulse and declared him gone. A student freaked out, worried the school would end up all over the news. Another student replied, "Relax. He's not from a major sect or top scholar. Students getting zeroed in their senior year is quite common." The rank 19 student was psyched. He could easily move up now. But Teacher Ching Yan was worried how this mess would affect her promotion review. She was pissed at whoever dared to mess with her exam. Her mind went to that damn PE teacher. He was always after her title. Just as she suspected him. He had already recovered. She bolted upright when she found out he was alive. In her entire career, she had never once seen anything like that. She couldn't believe he'd played her. He reported all 5 items were poisoned. Even with entic, dispersing powder, letters began to form on his palm. Then he announced the last one was the deadly air-ending poison. Jabai couldn't believe it, and started sweating bullets. He thought he'd been so thorough. Even using an expert from the condensation realm, he even had him investigated and came up with nothing. So, how did this nameless scrub survive a poison from a condensation realm master? Later that day, inside the lab, Teacher Ching Yan inspected a petri dish, wrapping her aura around the liquid inside. It was Hei's blood sample. And her analysis confirmed it all. His answers were spot on. She knew that brain-dead PE teacher couldn't have mixed this. This led her to believe it was a real poison master from the condensation realm. It took her half the night just to analyze it, which made her think Hei was a total freak. Meanwhile, at the new Immortal bookstore, Hei searched the books, amazed that a communication method like this even existed. The divine dragon spoke to him through his palms, revealing it was his bloodline's forbidden technique. She called him a total dummy for not knowing how to use it. She linked their health bars so they could contact each other in a pinch. Hei whined that this kind of encrypted communication hurt. He asked if immortals had another route to talk to mortals. He must have thought gods had all the freedom. She explained that to humans, they're like walking nukes. The immortal palace is watching their every move. She'd already snuck down once. So if she just casually contacted humans again and the immortal palace found out, a bunch of immortals would be on her tail. He then asked if she'd spill the location of some S-rank treasures. Everything she could legally tell him was already packed into those advanced payment skills. So he just needs to follow the system prompts. Blood started dripping from his hands. Someone saw. The girl at the counter. She knew high schoolers were stressed. But to start bleeding out in a bookstore. And, great. She'd have to clean up the mess. Again, he apologized, saying he would clean up the blood later. He then switched topics, asking about some books. She asked what he was looking for. He said he's a senior, aiming to reach the condensation realm. He wanted her to suggest some of the best prep books. The college exams are almost a whole year away. She was surprised he was prepping for the condensation realm this early. He asked, "Is the condensation realm hard?" She wondered if he was even a senior. He knew basically nothing. She explained that if he could break through to that realm during the college entrance exams, he's pretty much a shoo-in. If he nails it at once, he could even get a direct recommendation. Asterisk. Kids these days have big dreams but zero foundation. Asterisk, she thought. She handed him 3 of the best sellers. If he could actually grasp them, it'd be a miracle. He chose the Condensation Realm Cultivation Guide and gave it to the counter. It wasn't one she recommended. Of course he didn't listen. Asterisk, she thought. Unimpressed. He started flipping through it instantly. She watched him flip straight to the last page of that dense book. Asterisk, his entire thought process is backwards. Asterisk, she judged internally. This kid was hopeless. It said breaking into the condensation realm required maxing out either chi or body to level 10. Plus a condensation pill. The process could make spiritual energy go berserk inside, causing major damage. So he'd need top-grade healing and foundation stabilizing potions. Super expensive. Super risky. And he could totally die doing it. So, all he needed was a condensation pill from the Jiang estate. Then, he heard someone yelling. Jabai was yelling at a condensation realm poison master for failing to off a high schooler. The guy apologized, saying something must have gone wrong. He begged for one more chance, promising the kid would be 6 feet under for sure. Jabai was stressing now that Hei ranked 10th in class. He couldn't let that thorn in his side get ahead so easily. He gave the guy 1 week. If Hei wasn't gone by then, it's his head. A loud crash from the roof suddenly grabbed his attention. Unexpectedly, Hei smashed through with a sword. A few moments before this whole confrontation, the security in the Jiang residence was crazy tight. One of the guards up on the 2nd floor saw his colleague drop dead. He scrambled for his radio to yell, "Intruder," but before he could even finish the word, he was taken out. Bam. He vaulted to the second-floor balcony. He took out the rooftop guards. 2. Then he heard Jabai setting his expiration date. He focused his power into his fist, punching a hole to drop down 2 whole floors, reaching Jabai's location. He whipped out his sword and ran him through the shoulder. This chump had no clue he picked a fight with the wrong guy. Seriously. Bullying the new kid. Next thing he knows, he almost bit the dust. Inches from his heart. But this fool still tried to throw down. Can you believe it? Jabai blasted him back with a palm strike. So He yanked his sword free, using the flat to block the blow, which sent He flying through several walls, denting the last one. But then, needles flew right at him. He expertly deflected them with his blade, though slightly surprised. Then some dude attacked him with a seriously weird weapon. It was a staff with a metal tip that bloomed open like a flower. He parried the strike with his sword, but the attacker hit a button, and a hidden blade shot out, aiming for his eye. He had to jerk sideways to avoid it, so it just grazed his cheek. The attacker had to back off. This guy recognized the intruder. It was the lucky high school kid who survived his poison. He was about to go hunting for him, but his target came gift-wrapped. He bragged that the poison needle he just threw wasn't some cheap party trick. He was using his family's secret recipe, so the toxicity was on another level. It should have been instant lights out for the kid. He's cheek was bleeding, but he just stared him down, giving the poison master the creeps. And then, He vanished. In a blur, he rushed Jabai, sword point leading the way. He lunged for a stab, but Jabai managed to dodge it. He swung his blade again but sensed danger. A volley of needles shot his way. It was that poison-slinging dude again. He was ticked off that He was ignoring him. Plus, he was annoyed that with his high-grade poison, the kid should have been pushing up daisies by now. But there he was. So He crushed an item. The poison guy yelled for Jabai to bolt, promising to cover him with a storm of needles. He watched Jabai dive out the window to get away. Jabai got away clean. So the poison master decided to show off the power of the condensation realm. The needles stuck in the wall started spewing a green mist. He began to cough. He could feel this poison fog was way more potent than those earlier toxic needles. The toxins started appearing on his skin. And then he just dropped. The poison master cackled, mocking him. Thought you were immune to everything. Turns out he couldn't handle the guy's ultimate technique. To his surprise, a statue was cut in half. He's eyes snapped back open. He grabbed his sword and slashed the poison master. Yeah. This guy knew he messed up big time. Ever since Divine Dragon started using a clay avatar technique to take hits for him, she doesn't get messed up every time something goes down. But 2 of them just got wrecked back to back. That told her He was in some real trouble. She decided she'd better go check things out. She saw him cutting someone down. The poison master couldn't believe a realm cultivator like him got owned by a kid from the spiritual attraction realm. He was bleeding out. And when He checked, the guy was totally flatlined. He looted the corpse. The gear was trash but could be sold. Meanwhile, Jabai was on a mountain roadside, gasping for air, totally winded from his pathetic escape. He even forgot his phone. Had to hitch a ride and borrow a phone to call his crew. He was absolutely livid about that transfer student. He couldn't believe the nerve of him, targeting the Jiang family. Once he rallied the family's top hitters, he swore to erase him and his whole bloodline. To his shock, our hero appeared, asking who he planned on erasing. Yo. Jabai lunged with his sword, but he dodged it. Then Jabai used 100 refined steel to buff his body. He got nicked on the arm. It bled as he backed up, trying to make some space. Before he could even get his balance, an orb blasted him in the face and exploded, sending him flying off the cliff. He cratered the ground with a massive impact. He followed to finish the job. Pinned. The guy tried to flex his Jiang family connection to scare him off, but he didn't give a damn. He took his head clean off. He admitted that if the Dragon King hadn't tanked the damage, he would have been toast several times over. He couldn't believe, even on the brink of death, G still pulled that same tired family name card. He torched the body, erasing all the evidence. And even so, he knew the Jiang family would pin the death on him, proof or not. Plus, he's still using their family's patented technique, so he knew a major clash was inevitable. But he was satisfied that his payback totally paid off in the end, even though he had to bolt. He still managed to snag some pretty valuable loot. They were condensation pills, and he scored 3 of them. He knew Jabai's brother had to kiss the Dragon King's butt just to get a single one. He was learning just how messy the politics were between the big sect disciples. He also yoinked some gold, silver, treasures, talismans, and generic blades. He figured he'd just sell it all off later. The system pinged on the word sell and offered a marketplace feature. Ever since he unlocked advanced payment skills, these system-like pop-ups kept appearing. He figured it was all designed by that stinky dragon, and now it was getting crazier. With its e-commerce platform's big data and how it communicated with him, then it hit him. He needed to clear his browsing history. Now. A wheel popped up with options like cultivation technique, magic artifact, etc. He hit sell. The dynamic Monlay, horizontal blade, poison lotus, gold bars, and all that junk got sold. He got 154,178. System lead up. The heaven opening blade was listed for 1 million W. He wasn't thrilled that all his loot sold for 1.05 million. Yet they wanted 1 million for just one premium blade. He knew similar gear sold for way less out in the real world. He called it a total ripoff. It's not that he was broke. It was just a garbage deal. He decided to browse for something else instead. There were pocket pants for 50,000. Super durable and tear resistant. Both side pockets were basically spatial bags that could hold tons of stuff. Now this, he found pretty useful. He spent 100,000 yuan, leaving him with 954,718 He looked at other stuff like boiling blood. A premium item for 600,000 uni. The more he bleeds, the more his power skyrockets. Also, the swift eye contact lens. A steal at 50,000 unines. It jacks up his dynamic vision by 50%, letting him track super fast targets. Next up, the anti-impact shirt for 100,000 yuan. This shirt's tougher than he is, so no more ripped clothes during a brawl. And the grip shoes for 200,000 yuan. They have insane traction soles. When fueled by spiritual power, they can stick to any surface. The effect scales with the user's cultivation. All told, he dropped 950,000 yen, leaving him with just 4,718. He wept. But this made the divine dragon smirk. She was dead set on making that brat suffer for hitting her with a blood curse. A voice called out to the Lord Dragon King. It was a cat, reporting they'd found a way to shatter the human's blood curse. She followed the cat straight to the altar. The cat explained his bloodline was totally unremarkable. Hi's ancestors could only curse weak, low-rank demon beasts. Those beasts were so weak they couldn't handle the rebound damage. So his ancestors croaked in minor skirmishes. That's why no sect ever gave his bloodline a second look. He's always been a total nobody in the mortal realm. So how did he slap a blood curse on her? A celestial. She was the mighty Dragon King. After all, the cat guessed it was because, when she came down to the mortal realm, the Celestial Emperor's binding spell nerfed her cultivation down to a super low realm. On top of that, the kid's insane will to live in that moment massively boosted his blood curse's max potential. But the curse is still tied to his own cultivation level. A cultivator at the spiritual attraction realm can only leech a tiny sliver of her massive health bar. Once he drains that bit, he's toast. The magic circle was nearly complete. The cat told her to step into the formation's core. Magic circles materialized above her, and she screamed from the agony of the thing being ripped from her body. Meanwhile, on Earth, all was still. Hay was out cold. As that cursed thread entered his body, she saw the blood curse had manifested into a solid, tangible form. She focused her power into her hand and tried to sever it, but was interrupted by a sudden knock at her door. A messenger had arrived. He announced an invitation from the celestial minister. The cat was baffled. Why send an envoy instead of a communication talisman? Divine Dragon was instantly on guard. This visitor was clearly bad news. Divine Dragon stood before the throne, but it was vacant. A sudden voice asked if she fancied taking a seat. A man materialized to the right of the throne. He noted the Celestial Emperor hadn't been seen in years, so the throne's been gathering dust for ages. No harm in her trying it on for size for a little while, she scoffed, pointing out that every immortal knew he was the one most desperate to claim that seat. She warned him to cut the mind games and get to the point of this summons. He just chuckled, commenting that she was still the same old hothead as always. Then he revealed the real reason for the meeting, her application for promotion to high immortal rank. It was rejected. She was furious since she'd ditched her territory and her crew, all on the promise to join the Immortal Palace. It was all because he promised she'd be promoted to high immortal after 100 years. He explained that times have changed, since tons of minor immortals were now applying for a promotion. So if they approve her based on a centuries-old promise, the other immortals would raise hell. He suggested she go accumulate more merit and raise her cultivation level. She was gone before he could even finish his sentence. The cat couldn't believe she was back already. She was rocketing across the sky at a ridiculous speed. And you could see the pure fury on her face. The cat knew this was not good at all. She was almost at the cliff. When she touched down, it set off a huge blast. The impact shook the whole forest. The cat slammed headfirst on the rock. It asked if she was okay. Lying on the rocks, she sarcastically replied, she felt amazing. Aside from feeling restrained, the cat was baffled. How could she be restrained when she just shattered a whole mountain? Her free-roaming days were done. So it was time to push that mule harder. Meanwhile, in the human realm, Hay was training. A nearby bird was super annoyed it couldn't get any sleep. Eventually, the system pinged him that his spirit-attracting breathing technique was now complete. Now, his foundation for leveling up to the condensation realm was now rock solid. With that done, after the advance payment for the condensation realm, all the pieces were in place. Minus a bit of follow-up cultivation, he activated his advanced cultivation condensation realm. Power coursed through his body. The raw energy shot up to the sky. Smoke and dust filled the air. When it finally cleared, his eyes glowed red. With this condensation, realm advancement prepaid. His body strength, mana, and max health points all got a huge boost. And his divine sense was greatly enhanced. His comprehension ability got a major boost. He also unlocked exclusive condensation realm techniques, artifacts, and items. He was told to fulfill the condensation realm conditions, which were 1 condensation pill, 10 superior foundation stabilizing pills, 3 bottles of superior spiritual herb extract, and 10 layers of the spirit attracting realm. He was shocked, that was all. Since he already had everything, easier than he expected. But he totally jinxed it. A side quest popped up. It instructed him to clear the secret realm while afflicted by the hemorrhage curse within a time limit. After the mission, 30% of his cultivation and merit would be taken as interest on his advance to the condensation realm. Later, repayment would get compound interest. He didn't know where this demon cave was. Right on cue, a red glow appeared. A magic circle formed under him. He freaked out since he wasn't ready. As he fell, the 20-minute timer began. He complained about how intense this was, especially since he was falling onto spikes. He focused his energy on his hands and feet to grip the wall. He slid at first, but managed to stop just an inch before his rear hit the tip of the spike. That was way too close. He nearly died, even though his health bar is bigger now. Getting hurt still hurts. Plus, he had no clue when the bleeding would start. Getting injured was not on the agenda. A metal arm blasted toward him. Luckily, he saw it. He ducked to evade it. Right then, another spike shot out, which he met with a clean slice, splitting it. His speed, power, and reflexes were on another level now, though his knife wasn't top tier for cutting iron. After he channeled a bit of magic power, a stone arm thicker than your waist could be sliced off in one go. Yep. The perks of grinding your basics. He saw the next attack. He had to dodge in a zigzag pattern. Climbing up, he was about to escape the pit, but a hand blocked his way, getting him trapped from the front and back. He used Black Nether Fist Core Thunder and wrecked it all. After that, his timer read 17 minutes, 36 seconds. A rock golem rose from the ground. Then, more of them appeared. They were humanoid rock warriors, each wielding a massive hammer. He was on the clock and couldn't waste time on these grunts, and then the bleeding finally started. Just as he dropped to his knees, the rock soldier raised its hammer for the final blow. It swung down and smashed into something. It was a hand he'd summoned with a pay-to-win skill. Stone Golem. And with all the blood he was losing now, it triggered boiling blood, juicing up his attack power. Then he cleaved the rock soldier in two with his dagger. The system chimed in, complete the Stone Golem's training. He needed to master the Golem's various attack skills on these enemies. His progress, 0 of 5. He unleashed a giant Golem hand to crush all the rock soldiers. He crushed one. Then his Golem fist pummeled the others. The giant stone hand was then raised high. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Jikian slapped a chained woman, forcing her awake. The woman slowly came to her senses. She was staring at some creepy altar. All she did was drink a soda, so she had no clue how she ended up in this place. She asked her manager, Jikian, what was going on? Zikian was pissed he hadn't broken through after taking the condensation pill, and now the dragon wasn't even answering his calls. So, because of that, he decided to pray to a new deity for one more condensation pill. The black-haired woman, who was his underling. It freaked out when it hit her. He was going to sacrifice her. This can't be real. She was getting paid 3 1,001 a month to work like a dog. And now he wants her to give up her life for him. 2. She argued that human sacrifice was definitely not in her employment contract anywhere. Jian clarified that their company had zero involvement since she'd signed her contract with a temp agency. This was just unbelievable. He pressed a knife to her throat and told her to shut up already. She pleaded with him, begging for her life. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion. It came from a wooden staff wielded by He. He saw the amazing boss who treats his staff like family. Then he flipped the guy off. Right then. He had just completed the stone golem training mission. Jian's jaw dropped seeing him there. He couldn't believe he found this place and beat the mechanical golems outside. He smirked, saying he wasn't surprised that the guy was still kicking. He figured someone spilled the beans on how unkillable he was. He bet it was Xian's dead brother, who couldn't accept getting smoked by him. Then he demanded to know if He had his brother's condensation pill. He lunged at him, trying to force him to cough it up. He didn't even care how his own brother died. He only helped him try to kill He to save face for both of them. But now that he's gone, as the big brother, he was claiming his stuff. He was stunned by He's palm strike. It totally obliterated his right arm. The dark-haired woman glanced away as Jigan's body slid toward the altar's entrance. His blood pooled, and the creature on the other side of the altar sensed it. That offering awakened the creature. I felt that wicked aura. Crap. Only 9 minutes and 20 seconds left. He instantly sliced the woman's chains. The woman recognized him. He vanished after the company incident. She never dreamed he'd be this freaking strong. He shot back that there was no time to explain and had the golem escort her out of there first. She was speechless as the golem's hand snatched her up. Meanwhile, Zekian's corpse was being devoured by the altar's dark creature. And that thing opened its eyes, grabbing a sword. Then, she emerged. Just one look at her glowing red form, and you knew she wasn't some ordinary mob. He saw her. His eyes instantly tried to size up her power level. But her power level was off the charts. Her sheer presence alone was making him bleed. He used his divine sense to scan her cultivation, but got zapped by a nasty countermeasure. The portal she came from sealed shut. He wondered what kind of beast Zikian had accidentally sacrificed himself to, and without a word, she blitzed him. He managed to block her massive sword with his dagger, but her raw power buckled his knees, the blade grazing his shoulder. She went for a kick. He blocked it with his other arm, and then, an explosion. He was blasted into the cave wall. She immediately took a combat stance. He noted her strikes were insanely heavy and powerful. He planned to use the golem for backup on her next charge, but before he could even move, he was slashed again. On the floating island, 3 clay statues suddenly shattered. The divine dragon was bugged that all her death substitute puppets blew up at once. She knew it was a fatal omen. Meanwhile, He was reeling, not even seeing the sword swing before he was hit. How was she so fast? He collapsed onto his stomach. The woman closed her eyes, a magic circle spinning around her finger. Then, she moved in for the finishing blow. She aimed for his neck, but he blocked it with his dagger. The impact was immense, blasting air all around them. He realized she was already prepping a follow-up strike to end him. He gave a quick finger signal, and the golem's massive hand appeared. It swung at her, but she dodged with a clean backflip. Then she instantly put some distance between them. She was a bit stunned by his instant counter with the dagger. The system pinged He, 99% damage taken. Skill, boiling blood, activated. He was stoked. Now he could finally fight for real. He also figured out that one-shot move of hers had a pattern, so that's why he couldn't block it. He unleashed a flurry of dagger strikes, which she deftly parried with her sword. Then, he chucked an orb. It caught her off guard, and the moment it struck her blade, it went K-boom. This forced her to use her ultimate move again. He saw it coming. In fact, he was banking on it. The system pinged him. Enemy skill prepayment confirmed. She then unleashed Celestial Annihilation. They both blasted out destructive energy, and the clash caused a huge explosion. When the dust finally settled, it showed them both still standing. But a few seconds later, the woman fell. He, however, was perfectly fine. She was totally baffled. How did that happen? She struck him first. It should have connected. But he was completely unharmed. He smirked, mocking how flustered she was to be speaking normally. All this time, he figured she was mute. He shot back that if she can prepay an attack, he can too. At first, he planned to build a defense against her final move, but he couldn't swing it. Looked like it needed a much higher cultivation level. Then he recalled their last fight. She didn't finish him, but followed up by trying to slice his throat. He gambled she'd aim for his head this time. So he prepared for it. And as a bonus, he snuck in a slash of his own. 2. She was absolutely furious. But a magic circle appeared, distracting her. Hay was then warned to complete the hand signs for his prepaid skill, or else face some divine payback. This was his first time seeing the divine punishment for using prepaid Heaven's Law skills. They both started the hand signs. The woman panicked as the signs wouldn't sync up. A hand shot out from the ground and grabbed her arms. She refused to let it stop her from finishing her cast. But he didn't need to stop her. He just needed to stall for time. She broke free. Then she resumed her signs. But it was already far too late. Several magic circles descended. It was a tribulation. It nuked a massive area. Hay was safe. Of course, the system notified him that the quasi-condensation realm prepayment was complete. It deducted the cultivation and virtue share. His cultivation had leveled up to the 3rd layer of the condensation realm. New system resources were unlocked for prepayment. The woman crawled out of the pit. Hay blocked her, saying she's still kickin'. She admitted defeat, telling him he could do his worst. She really didn't care. That set her apart from the others who begged for mercy. She was surprisingly chill about it all. He raised his dagger to strike. She squeezed her eyes shut, ready for the end. But nothing came. To her absolute shock, all her wounds were totally healed. Hay then told her they now share 1 health bar. He invited her to ascend with him. A blood curse was placed on this woman named Long Yin. Damage she takes in a fight is now sent to the Dragon King. At the bath, the cat was sleeping soundly. The tub water started to bubble, and the divine dragon shot to her feet. The cat was startled by her sudden move. Waking up and asking what was going on, the divine dragon felt a weird vibe. Like another leech was on her. System advanced payment skill has been upgraded. He can now prepay for powerful artifacts and rare elixirs. But their power level can't top his current realm. The next day at school, Long Yin showed up in a pretty revealing outfit. Hay glanced over. Fatty and Green Hair were just staring. Fatty was totally clueless who she was. Green Hair teased him about crushing on his sister-in-law. He went pale, claiming his heart only has space for their teacher. So, Hay asked the woman if they'd met before. She pointed out they just fought a few days ago. She reminded him they share the exact same health bar. It finally clicked for Hay. She'd changed her hair. That's why he totally didn't recognize her. He asked how she managed the whole enrollment process and transferred into their class. She sat by him and said, "One simple trick works like a charm every time. Just 2 days ago, the principal took some gold bars to admit a new transfer student. And now, in the present setting, their homeroom teacher, Teacher Tao, announced the smaller tests were all finished and it was time for the mock exams to finally begin. For most students there, this would be their first true combat experience. They've all studied their butts off for over a decade. So now, it's time to show the true results of their training. He called all students to assemble in the exam area. First, grade 12. Class 1 was instructed to gather. Then Class 2 began their roll call. Class 3. All present. Class 4 was next. Yin finds this whole exam interesting. Their green-haired pal was worried they'd totally embarrass themselves in front of the whole grade. Hay assured him that it's all going to be fine. He perked up. But to his dismay, Hay explained that he's just shameless. So he didn't care one bit about being embarrassed. The teacher then announced the rules. Each class has its own exclusive testing zone. The edges of the zone have been sealed by barriers, ensuring that candidates in separate exams won't interfere with one another. Each candidate will battle the same monster. Anyone who gets a KO within 5 minutes will receive a full score. Those who can't land a KO before time is up will be scored based on the effective damage they manage to deal. If any emergency happens during the exam, Teacher Joe in the center of the field is there to intervene. The exam had officially begun. Students whose names were called would step down and prepare. First was Grade 12 Class 1's Xiao Kang and Guan Liang. Also, Class 2's Tang Long and Class 4's Yugosaki Hanako. Hay asked why there were people from the Ying Sect here. The green-haired student replied that it's because it's a directive from the Cultivation Education Bureau. As part of the top-tier sect peace treaty, nearly every high school must accept a few exchange students from the Ying Sect. He thought only normal high schools had exchange students. He didn't think cultivation high schools would do that. 2. A long, black-haired girl suddenly sensed something. This was Ryugasaki Hanako. And she glanced at the audience. Hay could tell her intuition was sharp. Yin was annoyed she was glaring at her master. She claimed that she's the only one allowed to glare at her little bro. The green-haired guy commented that their pecking order was really something else. Hay was left speechless. The match had begun, and the exam monster was summoned. A huge, freaky portal ripped open in the center. An eye stared out. Then, This mushroom monstrosity appeared. Teacher John felt a sinister aura. He was sweating bullets. It's the Cloud Canopy Demon Lord. Sealed by the Ying Sect. He yelled at Teacher Tao. This is way too much for the first mock exam. Teacher Tao called him impatient, mocking that it's no surprise he's still just a PE teacher. Tao clarified that if it were the original body, even while suppressed, every single one of them would be toast. But these exam monsters are just clones from the Demon Lord's spores. And even though they're at the condensation realm, their power is way below the proctors. And the area is lined with suppression stones. So there's absolutely nothing to worry about. A student unleashed a volley of fire talismans. It sent the monster reeling. The proctor announced that if they fail to inflict any damage on the exam monster before time runs out, their final score will be 0. The kid with the fire talismans just started blubbering. Another student pelted the monster with a rock barrage but got decked by it instead. He actually managed to hurt the beast, but it yeeted him right out of the exam area. So he failed. Then, the results rolled in for others. Jiangwen, with 61 points. Wu Wan failed Chen Zhonglin. 68 points. The crowd was freaking out over how brutal this year's first mock exam was. Not one person scored over 70. And just a few even passed. They wondered what psycho teacher designed this test and planned to hunt them down later. The green-haired kid was just relieved. He had no reason to be ashamed since everyone else was bombing. 2. But then, he saw something. Teacher Jian argued that Teacher Tao went too far. Making the first mock exam this insane could totally crush the students' confidence. Teacher Tao argued that if they can't even survive a mock exam with this much heat, then this is the worst class I've ever taught. He then spotted something in the arena. Hanako was running away from the monster. He didn't see that coming. She was bolting for the edge of the barrier. He couldn't believe it. She was forfeiting the exam. But right before she hit the barrier, she jumped. She was about to go over. But she didn't. Instead, she used it to plant her feet and build up momentum for a massive counterattack. The monster lunged for a punch. She drew her sword. And in a flash, she diced the monster into tiny pieces. Teacher Jian was floored by the total knockout. She got a perfect score. The crowd was totally stunned. Everyone else was struggling. And she got a perfect score. They called her an absolute monster, asking where she came from. Someone said she's the exchange student from the Ying Sect, the #1 student of class 4. A samurai watched her with a smug look. He knew this was only the beginning. He'd set up an extra test. Mushrooms started sprouting from cracks in the arena floor, all connected to some terrifying creature lurking just below. The next group was called up. First up, grade 12. Class 1. Li Han. The green-haired guy figured he'd get a perfect score. 2. Since he's the #1 student in class 1. Then he saw Hei move his hand. So he's like, "What are you waving at?" Hei knew he couldn't see the system's prize wheel, so he just played it cool. Said he was swatting bugs. He couldn't care less about being #1. All he cared about was what sweet magic gear he could get paid for up front. Meanwhile, Junhao's fangirls were screaming for him. Junhao was hyped to wreck the exam monsters. He was itching to prove there are levels to this. Even between two #1s, a black mist suddenly filled the area. It was pouring from that mushroom monster. Teacher Tao wondered who the heck designed this thing. Junhao was sure that even if it transformed, he'd still one-shot it. Runes blazed on his fist as he clenched it. Then he slugged the monster, sending it flying backward. Teacher Jian was totally blown away by his power. Teacher Tao said Junhao uses a magic circle on his arm to boost his fist's raw power. That kid's a shoo-in for a guaranteed spot at Peking or Tsinghua University. But the teacher hid how ticked he was that Junhao wasn't his student. That one punch was so insane it totally cratered the ground. He bragged that punch secured his admission and proved the gap between two #1s. But then, his face went white. Even the teachers looked nervous. The monster was right there in front of him. He was floored that it was still standing. This felt wrong. He knew it wasn't bad form. Like he'd messed up his waist twist or shoulder set, killing his power. He figured he'd just hit it again. But a panicked teacher Jian screamed at him to get back. He went for the punch anyway. But before his fist could connect, it decked him in the gut and sent him flying. He slammed into the wall with a sickening crunch. Teacher Jian rushed to help him up. But he started coughing up blood. He tried his best to absorb the impact, but still got messed up inside. He knew this monster wasn't part of the test. He got on his phone to call for backup. Some totally off-the-charts monster just appeared. The guy on the line asked about the exam's current difficulty. He demanded the highest-level teachers they had on standby. The monster charged right at them. Someone snagged its feet. The proctor was insulted, like the monster was ignoring him. He then tied up the monster's arms. 2. But they had no idea the real monster below had just opened its eyes. The mushroom thing grew spikes from its back that suddenly shot up from the ground. The proctor kept a tight grip on the binds. But something below him just completely shattered the ground. He knew this was bad. Then his whole area exploded. The monster broke loose. But a massive fireball rained down on it. It countered, blasting something from its head that slammed right into the fireball, causing a huge explosion. The monster bolted from the smoke, targeting the person on the roof who was launching the fireballs. Hanako watched the chaos unfold from the wall's top. She drew her blades. The samurai next to her demanded to know what she was doing. She said she was going down there to help. This guy, Saki Kaku of the Ryogaki sect, yelled at her, asking if she was an idiot. He yelled that this whole exam was set up just to clear a path for her. If that totally busted monster just oops and took out all the top-tier students in her grade, she'd get a free ride to Tinhua, Ping, or even Shukian University. But she refused to stoop that low, just to score a guaranteed admission spot. She was dead set on shredding that monster. But then something felt seriously off. She clutched her head, screaming in agony. Kaku had slapped a soul-binding curse on her. He was glad he put that leash on her. Otherwise, his old man's whole elaborate scheme would have gone down the drain. Hanako got none of the cold, cruel traits of the Rugasaki clan. Deep down, in her very bones, she had the fatal flaw of her original bloodline. Too gentle, kind, and righteous. He wondered why his dad would even waste resources on her. His thoughts were cut short by a massive explosion on the rooftop. Teacher Tao got blasted out. He knew that monster was at least at the 5th layer of the condensation realm. Who in the world approved this exam monster? He quickly threw up his astral body shield. The beast lunged at him, moving so fast his eyes couldn't track it. His only move was a full 360-degree defensive shield. The monster slammed into him, cracking the shield before shattering it completely and snatching Teacher Tao by the neck. It wore this massive, twisted grin. The teacher was drooling, eyes rolled back, as the monster squeezed the life out of him. But someone jumped in, dicing the monster's arm into ribbons. And of course, it was none other than our main man. 15 minutes earlier, the green-haired kid was shaking next to Hey, staring at the beast. Hey could see the dude was totally freaked by its demonic aura. He didn't think condensation realm cultivators would get spooked so easily by a demonic aura. And this monster's cultivation was at the 7th layer of the condensation realm. Yin was the one who pegged its level. He was impressed. Damn. She's sharp. But she explained, it was her body. It sensed a powerful foe and was getting all fired up. That's how she knew what league this opponent was in. Hey tapped on his wheel again. He threw up a barrier around the area so that monster couldn't just bail. He figured the thing planned on wiping them all out. Right now, Hey is at the 3rd layer of the condensation realm. Not counting his ridiculously long health bar, his real power level was closer to the 7th layer. He browsed the market for new gear. After scrolling through all the newly unlocked weapons, he spotted the only top-tier one. Also the only one available on a payment plan. He was digging its stats. 2. Pumping mana into it lets you refine and absorb the stats of other magical items. The refined items realm just can't be higher than the weapon's current realm. He could also pump mana in to make the weapon copy his skills and unleash them later. He snagged this Cloud Ruin guide on credit. He equipped it next to his dagger. Then he told Yin that once he headed down, she needed to stay up top, just in case. He had a hunch this bonus monster might call in another bonus monster. Yin was on board, though she asked if the teachers couldn't handle these things. Hey could tell she had a natural radar for the heavy hitters, but for the weaklings, not a chance. He laid it out. Those teachers were just 1st layer condensation, realm scrubs. Only their homeroom teach, Tao, was at the 5th layer. If Tao had prep time to set a formation, he could just barely hang. But getting jumped like this, he was at a huge disadvantage, playing right into its strengths. The weapon's refinement was finally complete, and it now had the boiling blood attribute. Tao was on the ropes. Just then, Hey arrived to save him. Teacher Tao was floored to see his transfer student. Hey yelled that a barrier outside the wall was blocking the student's only escape route, so he told him to find a way to smash it while he handled this freak. Tao was all in on being a teacher, a true role model for all educators. He fell back, dead set on protecting his students. The monster heard him as spores popped on its neck and its arm regenerated. Hey saw how fast it healed. It looked brand new in the blink of an eye. He figured this was a trait of fungus-type monsters. But then the beast charged right at him. He blocked with his sword, noticing its fist get way harder. Then it wound up to punch with its other hand. He figured it out. It was compressing demonic aura on its fist's surface for insane hardness. It geared up for another punch, one strong enough to send Hey flying. Luckily, He stopped himself from smashing into the wall, but in a flash, the monster was right beside him again. It raised its fist to strike. Then it punched. The blast made it impossible to see. Teacher Jian feared the transfer student was about to get wrecked, so Teacher Tao told him to go down and save the kid. Jian was totally speechless. Teacher Tao knew Jian always just hid and watched from a safe distance. So, Jian, saving the #1 student, proved the kid's family got to him. Otherwise, he'd have never gone down there to actually save the guy. Teacher Jian's silence was all the proof he needed. Tao had to admit, the transfer student's guts were impressive, but there was nothing they could do. No one here could handle this mess. They'd be lucky to break the barrier before that fiend showed up. The mushroom freak just kept punching where Hei should have been. Teacher Jian couldn't watch this tragedy. Hei had to have been beaten to a pulp by now. The monster was loving this. Right until Hei grabbed its fist and stopped it cold, Jian and the monster were both stunned. The boiling blood effect activated. Now, it was Hei's turn. He smashed the monster with his sword, sending it flying across the arena. The beast got to its knees, then saw a bright light from the sky. It was Hei's sword. At the last second, the monster caught it in its palms. Then, Hei activated Dark Sword Heart Thunder. The blade's tip unleashed a dark orb, hovering just a few inches from the monster's face, and then it exploded. Only 1 foot of the monster was left. Its spores scattered. Teacher Jian was floored. He took it down in just 1 hit, but Hei sensed something. He looked up and saw another monster in the sky. Whoa. Same monster, but this one's got a giant eye on its mushroom cap. And the cap just spun right off its head. Then the cap shot out some spikes. They formed into missiles and rained down on Hei. Hei braced for the incoming storm. The monster showered them with missiles. All the other students panicked and scattered. There was a barrier outside, so they scattered wildly. Hei flashed a hand sign, activating the stolen golem shield formation. The students freaked. The area of effect was massive. There was literally no way they could escape. One of them was about to get blasted. It exploded right near his face, a huge blast that caused a domino effect. The other missiles went off all at once. The student braced himself, but to his total shock, he was safe. They all celebrated that they were still alive. At the same time, they wondered who set up that massive defensive formation. It was a massive formation that drained tons of magical power and cultivation. They knew that person had to be one of the top students this year. The shield was literally all over the place. Yin realized that Hai wasn't ruthless enough. He actually saved his classmates, even when there's no need to save the low-ranking ones. And those top students, during the university exams, would definitely make him a target. Hei's magical power was almost gone, but he bet the mushroom cap in the sky was too. Then it just disintegrated. The monster grinds its teeth and then vanished. It popped up right beside Hei. Hei immediately kicked his sword towards it and jumped before the monster's punch landed. He made some space, but in a blink of an eye, the monster was already behind him. He countered its punch with his blade. His sword crackled with black static, and he swung it again. It sliced off the monster's head, making its body stumble. In no time, the head regenerated, and it was good as new. After Hei applied lightning magic to the blade, he could easily cut off its head. But its head just regenerates, which meant its weak point wasn't the head. He guessed it was hidden in its torso. The monster unzips its face. It revealed an eye in the center of its forehead. In a flash, it was gone. Hei noticed it got faster again, but he saw where it appeared and attacked there. The monster ducked and nailed him in the side. It sent him flying while coughing up blood. Then the monster circled him at lightning speed. It was so fast it created afterimages, and it kept on circling him. Even so, Hei had been able to skillfully block its attacks. It punched continuously. Hei was hit on several parts of his body, but he stood strong. Teacher Jian was a bit disappointed that he was on the losing end. After all, he really thought the transfer student could turn the tables. Teacher Tao stressed it was hopeless from the start. There was no way for the student to win with that huge power gap. But still, for a transfer student to fight, even with a clear disadvantage, he was impressive. His raw power could rank him in the top 10 of the year. Yin watched the non-stop exchange of blows. She was getting impatient. He wasn't using the move he used to beat her. Hei was pushed back. The monster was so fast it was hard for him to keep up, especially that speed burst right before it strikes. Even if he defends with everything, he can only block a tiny piece of it. He hit 150% damage. So boiling blood just activated. He hit his combat stance and blitzed forward. He raised his sword. Teacher Jian was confused. He took a stance but didn't budge. He thought he'd given up. But then he unleashed a skill, Heavenly Law of Annihilation. The power blasted all the way up to Teacher Jian's spot. It also smashed the barrier. Teacher Tao was shocked the barrier shattered so easily, he couldn't even scratch it with all his might. It made him feel unworthy to be a teacher. He even thought of quitting. The monster's body was gone. He got a durian fiend core, after some cultivation and growth. It can be controlled by a beastmaster to help out in battle. The system pushed him to complete the ritual for the heavenly law of annihilation. He threw some hand signs and completed the ritual. Teacher Jian was in total awe. He couldn't even track that last strike. Then, he told Teacher Tao that with Hei's strength, he was way beyond the top 10 of his grade. He could even take on those few at the very top. But Teacher Tao didn't reply. He was drowning in his own incompetence. Later that day, Hei and Yin walked in a park. Hei had broken through to the 9th layer of the condensation realm. He can now pass techniques to others. Yin checked her phone and saw Hei was trending. Everyone called him the biggest dark horse transfer student. They also claimed he was a guaranteed lock for the top cultivation universities. She saw him gesturing in the air. So she asked what he was up to. He replied that he was just paying his health insurance. He offered up 30% of the cultivation experience and merit points from the session to the Divine Dragon. He noticed he wasn't being healed anymore. It only heals him after the insurance premium is received. He noticed something about her had changed. The payment to her was blocked by a dark cloud. He watched intently as a black cloud swallowed the sky. It covered the huge area around them. It was the Black Abyss Forbidden Domain. They wouldn't be able to get in or out. And the inside and outside were totally cut off from each other. The formation was usually for when someone wanted to take out a witness and silence them. A kunai was chucked at them. Hei blocked it with his hand golem. But the kunai was trapped, so it exploded on contact. Yin backed off but got stuck in a puddle of dark goo. It swallowed her whole. He watched the smoke clear. He was kinda amused with the technique they used. They'd slapped a small-scale explosion formation on a kunai and used a battle mansion technique to suck a disciple inside. Hanako charged him. She swung her sword, and he blocked it with his. She swung at him again. It hit his hand. But he saw she used the flat of her blade. Then he just dropped his sword. Hanako leaped back, creating some distance. He asked if that whole show was just to snatch his weapon. She said her father ordered her to take him out, since he's a rival on her path to higher education. But she doesn't like to do things that way. So she planned to take his weapon and report back that he was already toast, provided he ditches the country and forgets about college entrance exams. Otherwise, if he shows up at school and stays top-ranked, the goons from the Ying Sect will never let him off. Her blade flared. System alert, post-payment mission for the Cloud Ruin Blade Guide has been triggered. A clash for supremacy was about to begin. A dark smoke began to envelop them both. What the heck is going on? She demanded. She leaped onto a branch, eyes wide in shock, realizing she was somewhere else. She jumped to a roof, confused about how she got there. He explained it was the realm of past reflections, a secret domain where you can only watch past memories, but never interfere. The blade was high tier. It had attuned to her. So, grabbing it instantly triggered the post-payment quest. That very mission forcibly dragged them into the realm of past reflections. She looked down. The stolen blade had vanished from her hands. He said the true form of that high-tier blade should still be in this secret realm. And if they don't find it, the blade won't return to his hand. Then, they heard singing. The song was familiar to her. And she saw a figure running to the house. It was a much younger Hanako. Reaching the door, she cheerfully called out to her dad that she was home. Her eyes shot open in horror. Everyone inside was gone. She screamed for her sisters and brothers. She saw her mom, a blade piercing her chest. Then, someone spotted her. It was her senior brother. Confused, she saw he wore the Ying Sect's uniform. "What are you doing?" she asked. A twisted grin spread on his face as he walked to her. Back when Hua was only in the 5th grade, Tian leaped between branches. Then she let her knives fly. Every single one hit the target. A perfect bullseye. Then she leaped back down. A woman on a branch told her, "Your technique is way better than mine was at your age." It was her big sister, Hua Tianjing. She pointed out that she'd missed one, the target behind the other tree. Cheney instantly threw a knife. Tianjing was stunned by her move. She'd thrown a second knife to alter the first one's path in midair. The knife struck its target. She flung another that slammed into the tree. The impact was strong enough to punch a hole right through it. Tianjing inspected it. Unbelievable. Tianhui had driven the knife clean through from behind. She eagerly asked if she hit the mark. Tianjing told her that she passed. And since it was getting late, they decided to head back home. Tianhui told her dad they'd returned. Her dad patted her head and asked about her practice. She proudly said she hit all the targets, even the one behind the big tree. As they were chatting, someone was splitting wood with a blade. It was Hua Zhang of the Hua clan. His swordplay had improved again. Tianjing asked their dad, "Are you really going to teach him the family's iron wall blade technique?" Their dad admitted he was thinking about it. While the boy wasn't blood-related, he'd been with them for 3 years, and from watching him these past years, he saw the boy was polite and truly good-natured. Jung would bring him tea and works hard even through pain and exhaustion. He was honest and took full accountability. The master thought he was a good disciple. Right until a sword pierced his chair. As the master got stabbed dead center in the chest, he asked why Jung did it. Jung replied that he was never on their side. He revealed he was born into the Ying clan, faked his name, and hid there for 6 years just to steal their iron wall blade technique. Now that he'd finally mastered it, it was only natural for him to wipe out the entire clan. The master threatened that even with him stabbed, the others in the courtyard wouldn't let him get away unscathed. Someone grabbed the door. It was Chun Jing. She tried her best to reach her dad even with a fatal wound to her chest. But it didn't last long. He trembled watching his daughter die before his eyes. He was enraged. That beast actually poisoned his whole family. Jung replied that the Ying clan lived by the principle of learn a move, destroy a clan. He finds it a real pity his youngest daughter isn't home from school yet. He was hyped about her talent. But right on cue, she called out that she was home. The master pleaded for his little girl's life. Jung told him not to sweat it. Since Kanhoi's spiritual root was top tier, he planned to erase her memories and raise her as his own daughter. But he won't make the master wait too long. Once Kane enters college, he'd seize her spiritual root and reunite the true father and daughter. By the time he was done talking, the master was already dead. Anjiang greeted Xiao Hi at the door. He told her he got bored while waiting, so he iced her family just to pass the time. She dropped her school bag and swore to kill him. She flung knives at him, but he just stood there, unimpressed. He blocked the knives with his sword, identifying her omnidirectional flying dagger technique. It specialized in attacking from the target's blind spot, and Qian Hui was the clan's best at it. But to him, who'd mastered the iron wall blade technique, it was totally useless. A dagger hit the roof, and another one was just an inch from Jung's eyes. But then he snatched her by the neck and slammed her down so hard she was knocked out cold. Then he cast the heart-binding curse, and just like that, she became his daughter. Renamed as Ryuga Saki Hanako, he planned to take her to the Ying clan and train her well until the day arrived. When she woke up, she called him father. Then Jung torched the whole house. They left right after that. In the present, Hanako just watched the entire building burn down. She stood there, dazed. Then she felt this insane resentment and rage for Jung. Hei warned her that she couldn't interfere, but she was already gone. She swung her sword to kill him, but when her blade made contact, it just shattered. Jung, who was walking off, sensed something faint. The young Hanako asked her father what was wrong, but he just said it was nothing. He just thought that someone was getting close. Then they continued on their way. Once they got back, he would get someone to teach her the Eastern tongue. Present Hanako trembled and sobbed hard. She felt betrayed by the man she called father. The system notified Hei that the scene had officially changed. The realm of past reflections became an interactive, tangible scene. They were told to find the key item, Cloud Ruin Guide. Hei, check the system alert. Then, they stepped into the scorched house to see what they could salvage, something she could take back as a keepsake. Her divine sense felt an object, but it was buried far too deep. Hei helped her dig it up. He used his golem hand and pulled out the items. She saw the blade, but he told her it wasn't his, it was truly meant for her. He gave it to her. She was totally confused. He said her father left it behind, and that it guided her to rediscover her path. So, it was always destined to be hers. He also gave her the sword manual left by her father. The sword manual was made specifically to beat the iron wall blade technique. Hei asked her what the problem was. She said it was ridiculously hard to cultivate. It might take decades just to reach the first stage, but she couldn't wait that long. And even if she somehow could, Ryugasaki Shoichi would notice right away that she wasn't the same girl. But Hei told her she didn't have to wait anymore. She asked what he meant. Suddenly, he put 2 fingers on her forehead as his energy flowed. All the moves and incantations poured straight into her mind. The breaking blade technique had been advanced to her. Then, the system notified her that the breaking blade technique's repayment would be her job. And while that was happening, 30% of the cultivation experience and merit points she gains would be paid to Hei as interest. She asked what it was. Hei explained that it was her system panel. She could only see it after accepting his advanced payment. If she chose not to, she'd still have to pay him interest. But the advance payment could also be revoked, without a second thought. She dropped to her knees and bowed. He accepted her as his disciple and told her to rise quickly. He also told her that, since she was his new disciple, he didn't have many good things to give her as a gift, so he said he'd give her a set of magical robes in a moment. With that, the post-payment mission for the Cloud Ruin Guide was done. Tianwei watched as the sun came up. Then she checked the mark on her hand. He explained earlier that the blood curse linked them as master and disciple with a single health bar. From that point on, any damage she takes would be absorbed by him, her master. He also reminded her that the blade has a boiling blood effect. The more damage she takes, the stronger her attack power gets. Someone asked her why she was just spacing out. Kaku told her their father was speaking to her. Shoichi told them that while Hano exposed a flaw in her character during the exam, it was a good thing she saw her mistake and took out the people who were in the way, and even brought him a treasured blade. Shoichi was glad his years of raising her hadn't been for nothing. She turned confrontational. She said there was something that she didn't quite understand, and she wanted to ask him about it. Kaku snapped at her for not using honorifics. Then she asked if their actions really deserved any honorable titles. Shoichi glared at her and asked what she was implying. He asked if she doubted that his actions over the years had been righteous. She replied that he spoke of righteousness like benevolence, propriety, wisdom, and sincerity. But secretly, he's robbing, looting, killing, burning, and wiping out whole clans. Kaku totally lost it at her. He argued that their father did it all for the sect. Tying her hair. She shot back. You know, small manners, but have zero real honor. You're all so meticulous about the small stuff. But you have no great virtue. A moon crescent piece held her bun in place. Also, it's a high-grade item that cuts down the spirit energy she uses when activating her spells. She laid into them. You sweat the small stuff but have no honor. You fear the powerful but show zero kindness. She shed her outer robe, revealing a horseface magical skirt. This bad boy boosts spirit-powered moves by 30%. Plus, it auto-repairs by absorbing ambient spirit energy. Shoi saw the energy pooling in her palm. He instantly drew his swords. Grabbing one to fight, he muttered how the weak are forced to obey, while the strong have become bandits. Kaku snapped and charged her. But before he could even land a hit, she booted him in the face, sending him flying outside. Shui realized she was onto him. He was done with the charade. 2. He called his clan to assemble. They gathered in a flash, facing her. He gave the order, capture her. They all rushed her at once. A bald dude with a sword lunged right at Chenny. She blocked with her sheath, then kicked him square in the head. Another guy came at her, and she sliced him clean in two. While she was moving, shuriken flew her way. She yeeted her sword at the attacker, piercing him through the neck. The attacker dropped, stunning the others. They surrounded her as she leaped in to retrieve her sword. They struck all at once, but she blocked with her blade. They kept pressing, trying to overwhelm and skewer her. As they held her in a blade lock, another goon tried to stab her from the side. She saw it coming and unleashed instant wall lightning flash. The attackers were all zapped. She then blasted up through the roof. One attacker looked up for her. The guy right under the roof hole was sliced in a flash. As she landed in a crouch, another guy saw an opening and swung at her. She sliced his arm off. The next person, she took his head. She continued to tear through them. The men couldn't believe they were all losing to a single girl. They desperately tried to hold formation. The rest just watched from the side. Yeah. They were the smart ones. Those morons who jumped in actually thought numbers would win this. But that kid was handpicked by the sect leader. She's an outsider and lacks his martial arts genius. But when it comes down to swordplay, her skills are unmatched in the sect. Okawa Mena, one of the Ying Sect's 3 sword masters. Knew Chiani won't quit till one of the 3 Ying Sect sword masters steps up. Nagono Nakayusu, another of the Ying Sect's 3 sword masters, agreed. He then asked why he wasn't jumping in and was just watching from the sidelines this whole time. Mina was no fool. The other 2 were also watching, so he wasn't about to be cannon fodder. Plus, his flash draw style was all about nailing that one perfect moment. So he had to patiently wait for an opening. Soon, bodies littered the floor. Qian Hui was totally gassed. She could barely even stand up straight. Mena saw his golden opportunity. He drew his sword and lunged. She sensed him, so she shot a look back. Then, in a flash, she was cut deep. Blood sprayed out from the fresh wound, and her attacker had this twisted grin on his face. Then she was shoved back hard. Yin felt something. She knew Qian Hui's aura had faded. It made her yell at He, asking if he was just gonna watch. He was surprised that she was concerned for her safety. He figured she'd still be mad at her. After all, she did trap her in that formation for a little while, but it was a total cakewalk for her. She broke out easily. When she got out, they were gone. And for a hot second, she thought he actually bailed with the enemy. Hey, said he was already planning to help. He threw a barrier on the building. It was a golden dome of light, and it sealed off the entire area. Yin was confused why his plan to help was trapping the Ying Sect, which also locked Chun Hui in there with them. He almost slipped, saying it was fine if the dragon tanked the damage for her, but he quickly backpedaled, saying he would tank the damage for her. Besides, with the buff from his boiling blood effect, he had faith in Xiao Hi. If things got really messy, he'd dive right in. But right now, he needed to make damn sure not one of those scumbags got away. The revenge they were after was to wipe them from existence. Meanwhile, Xiao Hui was lying in a pool of her blood. Mina gloated about his awesome one-hit kill. Suddenly, he saw her get up. Trembling but standing, he couldn't believe she was still kicking after he'd sliced her neck. He replayed the moment and saw she blocked it at the last second. She got lucky, he thought. But Mina was more focused this time. He charged straight toward her. She activated spirit object control. The floorboards shattered, floated in the air, and shot right at Mena. But cheap little tricks like that wouldn't stop him. Boiling blood was active, damage was at 30%. She told him it wasn't meant to stop him, it was just to force him to draw his blade early. Then she struck. She was shocked when her attack was blocked. Mena informed her that even without the first strike advantage of his special quick draw technique, his speed was more than enough to parry. She used Breaking Blade, and her sword phased right through the sword that was blocking her, which allowed her to land a clean hit. After that, the system processed the Blade of Crushing Momentum mission progress. She had to use Blade Crushing Momentum 5 times in battle. This technique drains a massive amount of spiritual energy. After a parry, it ignores a block to directly hit the enemy behind their weapon. At the moment, her spiritual energy was way too low, so she was warned to let it recover before using the remaining swords. The Ying Sect masters, Matsu Nagaya Yuno and Nagano Nakayasu, saw the weakest of their group get totally wrecked. Nakayasu noticed Chain's blocking blade was completely undamaged. It made him wonder how she managed to slice the person behind it. Internally, Yuyo was stunned at how that girl's power level grew so fast. In the old days, Mena's quick draw would have been enough to off her multiple times over. He pitched a team up, not because he lacked confidence. I just figured it's better they all share the credit for dropping the girl. Nakayasu was in. He said he'd provide backup, then unleashed Skyrending Slash. Chenwei ducks to evade it, and while she's low, Yuyo charges her. She immediately blocks his sword, but his strength was enough to send her flying. She smashed through the wall and was launched outside. Her hands were trembling from that massive blade. And just like that, Yuyo was on her again. A cocky smirk plastered on his face. He managed to knock her weapon loose. She instantly used spirit object control to call her weapon back to her, but before it reaches her hand, he strikes again. Her hand, glowing with spirit object control, blocks the blade, but the sheer force was overwhelming her. Then, bam, a hit from the side. She never saw it coming. Yuyo noted Nakayasu was savage for nearly splitting the girl in two. Nakayasu just told him to finish the job. It ain't over till her head is off. Kenhei was bleeding out. Yuyo moved to decapitate her, but froze. Completely stunned, he couldn't get how she was standing again. And he watched as even her clothes started to heal. He couldn't believe a fatal wound that nearly bisected her at the waist just healed in a flash. Was this a healing art a condensation realm user could master? She used spirit object control again to get her sword. At this point, boiling blood damage was at 80%. She advanced, and Yuyo took an involuntary step back, so he charged. Who cares about her freaky healing? She still couldn't take a direct hit from his blade. Once he lops her head off, her healing arts are totally useless. Her sword met his, clashing dead center. Nakayasu was floored that she took a sky-rending slash and could still fight. On top of that, she's parrying his huge blade with just one hand. He saw she was powering up mid-fight, so he had to end this now. He used multiple sky-rending slashes, a massive barrage. Yuyo was in the blast zone, so he yelled, "Hey, you trying to slice me up?" 2. Nakayasu just said the sect would honor his sacrifice, but he refused to be cannon fodder. He bailed, but she grabbed him, using him as a human shield. It was brutal. Blood everywhere. Nakayasu saw blood and debris fly in the blast. When the dust settled, she had vanished. But he sensed her from behind and attacked at once. She twisted her body to evade the slash. Hand on the ground. She had recovered her spiritual energy. The blade of crushing momentum was now available. He raised his sword to block. He had to admit. She was durable. But he was confident in his swordplay. But then her blade cut right through his sword. He didn't expect that. In a flash. He was cleaved vertically in two.